I'm going to prevent you from getting the Africa bonus. That's what I myself during the talking. I'm just going to strengthen it up more and continue cooking. Story! Yo! What the fuck are you two doing? You guys need to prevent Barack from getting the continent. All right, I've heard enough from the two of you. I'm just going to use my bonuses to defend the entire Australian continent from this point. There is no way you guys will be able to break this. Might as well just surrender now.
And I was being a scaredy cat by sitting in Australia, huh?
Shut the fuck up, Barack. I don't need your attitude.
I'm just pointing out that you...
There is drive in each one of us. Sometimes it's hidden, waiting to be revealed, put to use. Drive.
Okay, I like this idea. Arpon Basu, thank you for going out there and talking about this, because today we are heading over to the most recent episode of the Basu and Godine Notebook. Because when it comes to what was talked about on the most recent edition of the podcast, we had ourselves Arpon Basu share a very interesting thought in regards to a plea, because when it comes to Toffoli, he is set to becoming a free agent this summer. And by the time July 1st rolls around, we should have ourselves some sort of a bidding war that ends up transpiring, a whole bunch of different teams probably going out there and targeting this guy. Toffoli, if you wanted the scoop, he's 32, 6 feet, 196, right-handed guy, and he had just wrapped up that $4 million+ contract with a 55-point season in 79 games played. Definitely not a bad year. It's not as good as the 73 points he posted up last season, 34 goals in 82 games with the Calgary Flames. But Tyler Toffoli is indeed still a good hockey player. He can score goals, he can make plays, he is a two-way force, and he may not have the fastest foot speed in the world, but it makes up that was literally everything else about his game. Let's go over to this article published on Marquee.com that goes out there and cites the Basu and Godine Notebook podcast. With return of Tyler Toffoli with the Canadiens announced soon, something new. The title doesn't really matter, but the article will be linked in the description if you like to read and see more of this scoop. During a recent interview with Pierre LeBrun, the GM of the Canadiens, Ken Hughes affirmed that he could strike a big blow in the free agent market in order to bring a top six forward to Montreal this summer. The article then brings up how Tyler Toffoli could be seen as one of these ideas, because right now, he actually is in Ireland for Jake Evans' wedding. He's there with Joel Edmondson. It's kind of funny, the video is on Twitter, posted by Habs on Reddit. However, that's not all. During the latest episode of the podcast Basu and Godine Notebook, the journalist at The Athletic indicated that a reunion between Toffoli and the Habs would be a good idea, especially if he agrees to sign a 4-year contract. Arpon Basu believes that Ken Hughes must at least inquire about the salary demands of Tyler Toffoli and then see if common ground is possible between the two parties. Here is the Arpon Basu quote. Tyler Toffoli has proven over the last few years that he is a remarkably consistent goal scorer. He exceeded 30 goals in his last 2 seasons, which constitutes his 2 best seasons in terms of goals. Plus, I think Tyler Toffoli enjoyed his time in Montreal. Maybe the Canadiens can make it work. 4 years isn't an exaggeration, although I do think it's a bit longer than what the Canadiens would like for a UFA player. If he's willing to go to a 4-year deal, then yes, and he's sure to at least inquire to see if they can find common ground to bring him back to the Habs. Now, before we expand more on what this article goes out there and writes about, I gotta say, 32 years old, 4 years long, I feel like that's honestly not that bad for Tyler Toffoli specifically. Mostly because, I get it, you could say that 4 years for a 32-year-old taking him until he's 36 is not the best idea in the world, but you think about how players age in the NHL, and you talk about what diminishes as they get older. The hands are still there, the shot's probably still there too, but awareness, the way the game evolves, and everything else between that, that's what changes. There still are guys who have aged well into their mid to late 30s who could produce points and who could score similar goals like they had done when they were younger. For example, Thomas Vanek, Vancouver Canucks. This is a really weird, out-of-pocket example, but Thomas Vanek was super good with the Minnesota Wild, with the Buffalo Sabres. He was all over the place, but by the time he was in Vancouver, the guy was already in his 30s. He was a lot older than when he was in his heyday, but he could still find himself on breakaways and score on those breakaways with slap shots. He did that as far back as 2017, 2018. He was 34 years old in that season. Guys whose skill sets and defining qualities are not necessarily correlated with their foot speed tend to age a lot better into the NHL. And for a guy like Tyler Toffoli, who is really smart, who is capable of playing a solid defensive game, whilst putting himself in positions to get pucks and get one-timers on goal, who could also snipe it once in a while too if you give him the space.
Doing all this summer in a super with standards and medical full-time all week long. Things like climbing icy bikes, including a lake tennis court in the bear, finding a Sasquatch, and road trips. Visit the Food Summer event at your local Subaru dealer today.
Someone sit down.
If you would have told me that this trade idea would have been written about in The Athletic as a potential scenario, I would have called you nuts. If you had told me at the end of the season that we'd be talking about the Detroit Red Wings and the New York Rangers in this way, I would have had no answer. But alas, we have ourselves an article on The Athletic that goes out there and talks about this very specific idea. So, let's go out there and read the latest piece from 2 days ago published by Peter Bowe. New York Rangers Mailbag, Part 1. Right wing rumblings, Jacob Trouba options, and more. Now, of course, Peter Bowe writes for The Athletic on the New York side of things. He primarily does Rangers-related content, so this is a very New York-focused perspective. But if you wanted to talk about the main headliner, the guy whose name appears in the title, Jacob Trouba, the captain of the team, he's a guy who, after the season he had and the playoffs that he had as well, there's been a lot of heat of the sky as to whether or not his future with the New York Rangers is all too guaranteed. Trouba, after all, is making $8 million a year till the end of 25-26. He's super expensive. Also, by the way, I'm noticing now on Elite Prospects that their cap data is from Puckpedia now. That is awesome. They just incorporated all the same data that we were used to seeing from CapFriendly, and now they're using the Puckpedia service instead. That is awesome, since CapFriendly, of course, is not going to be usable by this time next month. Thanks, Washington. But either way, Jacob Trouba is a guy who had a really, really rough playoffs. And even though he had 7 points in 16 games played, 22 points in 69 games in the regular season as the captain of the team, he played very poorly. Especially towards the end. The way he was getting cooked by opposing offenders, and he wasn't really able to stand his ground. He'd go for hits, he'd put himself out of the play. He wasn't playing like an $8 million caliber guy at all. In a way, he kind of hurt the Rangers with the way he would make his decisions, and overall, he just was not good. I mean, watch the highlight packs, watch the tape, and look for any time number 8 is out there on the ice, because Jacob Trouba certainly does not have that $8 million pedigree as the Rangers go further into the playoffs. So this article on The Athletic goes out there and talks about a few things. It talks about the idea of a Trouba buyout, then which we did discuss in a prior video earlier, I think it was 2 weeks ago, something like that. We also talked about the idea in that video about Trouba getting traded, but all in all, that is one aspect of the conversation here. When it comes to the article that was written about on The Athletic, though, there was a very interesting idea tossed out there that involves Trouba and the Detroit Red Wings. Now, The Athletic is paid for material. We're not going to go out there and screenshot this article. Instead, we're going over to Heavy.com, because what Antonio Lasada did was he summarized the comments made by Peter Bowe on The Athletic. Trade proposal sees Rangers unload Jacob Trouba on the Red Wings. So, let's go out there and read what it is that Peter Bowe says. He proposed a trade that could help the Rangers unload Trouba's contract by sending him to Detroit. A hypothetical trade would be Trouba, with some of his salary retained by the Rangers, to Detroit for Justin Hall, who has 2 years left in his deal at $3.4 million AAV and who was a large cap hit. My guess is there are teams that would be interested in Trouba, but I can't see any of them being interested in taking on his full contract and sending NHL players back to the Rangers. Now, the rest of this article goes out there and talks about why the Rangers would want to trade away Trouba. And okay, I'll admit, maybe I'm a little bit dramatic in saying that Trouba absolutely stunk at the playoffs, but that second half of the playoff run was not great, and overall this season was very so-so. He's not really the kind of guy that demands $8 million and plays like an $8 million caliber guy. He's just big, he's physical, he scores points sometimes, and he takes very wild penalties, with a lot of them being in the potentially suspendable territory. So you can understand why Trouba's reputation, not just amongst Rangers fans, but amongst fans of the NHL in general, had tanked quite a bit over the past few months here. But the idea of sending him over to Detroit, giving Stevie Y all of the Rangers' extra scraps here, I know it's kind of dehumanizing to talk about a hockey player, the captain of a team, as a scrap. But you know what I mean here, right? Like, the reason Trouba is being discussed in trades is because he is an undesirable asset to have on the team. His contract is too big. He provides a little positive value compared to the negative he brings. And just trading him away for Justin Hall so you can buy out Hall on a cheaper contract is some 3D kind of chess stuff that I don't think Steve Yzerman would be down to go out there and say, yeah, sure, let's do that. Let's help the Rangers by doing this. Unless Steve Yzerman looks at Jacob Trouba and says, yeah, that's the kind of guy we need in our team. That's the kind of guy we need taking minutes away from Mo Seider. That's the kind of guy that we need to step in front of an Axel Sandin Pelletin on the depth chart. That
Big things can all feel the same. I think that we can be different treatments. Every people, everyone except the job. Maybe most of them is built for business owners. That's why it's good.
That's the kind of guy that can stabilize.
Y'all like to watch other I'm drowning in here. I'm drowning in that right now. Oh my goodness. And it's just sick everywhere. Sick everywhere. Oh, can you turn on? I'm sorry, can you turn on the voice mod? As always, you guys in this video now. So you're seeing different items. So what do you have tomorrow? Insurance, life insurance, and all the So I would use the vlog with you guys. I would do that tomorrow. I feel like I'll have it's something. I don't know. What? I do. I feel it. Okay, wait, I'll get out there. Okay, I'm just down his hat here. If they could be quite familiar with some of them. Say hello to former President Richard Nixon.
Yes, sir.
Ronald Reagan.
Yes, sir. Mr. Clinton.
And of course, George H.W. Bush.
Yes, sir. Mr. Clinton.
Yeah? What? Yeah, come on, George. Say hi to Richard.
Yes. Is it really you? Yes, Dad. It's me.
Hey, let me see my son, Bill. It's Master Clinton for you. And even if I were to let you see him, you don't even have eyes. And his heartless concept. What has he done to my father? Yeah, what is this Black Mirror-esque shit, Bill? How is this even possible? Please don't act like this is complete news to you just for the video. The first thing you have to do in office is sign the presidential terms and conditions, which clearly state that since Kennedy's assassination, every president's consciousness is digitalized and saved in the case of an emergency. So you didn't read it either, just like these idiots did. Stop it. Am I the only one who took the presidency seriously? Stop it, bullshit. Even if they do state the consciousness of every president, how did you get your dirty hands on them? And how did you manage to let them play Dead by Daylight? During my last visit to the Area 51 facility, I successfully copied a few of them. My initial idea was to employ them as advisors, like the portraits in Harry Potter. Regrettably, I ended up with a batch of unhelpful Republicans. I saved them on my PC, where they remained dormant until you all began a presidential Dead by Daylight channel without me, giving me the perfect opportunity to put them to use. With the assistance of a few friends, I successfully bound their consciousness to this game. It took some persuasion, but now they are obedient servants, aiding me in surviving and creating videos.
You've trapped these souls or consciousness or whatever in an endless purgatory just because we didn't let you be a part of our YouTube channel?
You monster! Where'd my dad go? Don't worry, George. Since I'm feeling rather generous today, you and your friends have been granted the opportunity to save their soul. You see, as the game declares, death is not an escape, and that dreadful truth extends to your dear dead. They won't perish because they were offered to the entity. However, they can be deleted by the administrator, who at the moment happens to be me. But considering they are entangled in my YouTube channel, their fates are now inexorably linked to this tournament. If by some stroke of luck you manage to emerge victorious, they and the coveted administrator rights shall be your prize. However, make no mistake, George. This is a one-time opportunity. This tournament is your sole chance. So